Should be joining us now. Hi, Colton.
Good evening, Colton.
You are not yet live. You're almost live. Even though it says you are, you're not quite.
Would you let me
Now
know
you
when we
are.
are, please? We're live?
Now you are live, yes.
Okay. I would like to call the regular meeting of council for March.
Paul got an offer. Yeah, 2.5.
Could someone mute themselves, please?
Tracy, you're not muted.
Just to recap here, I'd like to call the regular council meeting of March 15th to order, acknowledging that this meeting is being held electronically and that we are grateful to be on the traditional unceded territory of the Squamish First Nation. I'd also like to acknowledge, as we have in past meetings, that the town of Gibsons stands in support of the people of the Ukraine. At 7:02, I'd like a motion to call this meeting to order. Councillor Ladwig, Councillor Lumley, all in favor? We have an agenda before us, and there are a couple of minor changes. Item 12.1 under bylaws, I would like to move up to just after administrative reports, which is item 9. And we have a motion from Councillor D'Andretti that her item number 15, which is the year of the Salish Sea, be deferred to the next council meeting. So first of all, I would like to call for approval of the agenda as amended with the move of item 12.1. If someone would care, Councillor D'Andretti, Councillor Ladwig, all in favor? Thank you. And then we have the motion from Councillor D'Andretti that item 15.1, the year of the Salish Sea, be deferred to the next council meeting. Councillor D'Andretti, Councillor Ladwig, all in favor? Thank you. Alrighty. I would also at this point like to move that all reports and correspondence be received at this time. Councillor Lumley, thank you. Councillor D'Andretti, all in favor? Great. The next on the agenda, we have the regular minutes from the meeting of March 1st, that these minutes be adopted. Councillor Lumley, Councillor Ladwig, all in favor? Okay, do we have any business arising from those minutes? Councillor D'Andretti.
Thank you. Sorry, I got a little bit lost there. I printed the wrong agenda, but there was a motion last time to support the BC. Sorry, I'll come back later.
Okay, thank you, Councillor D'Andretti.
Yes.
So seeing no business arising from the minutes, we have a proclamation, and in regard to that proclamation, we have Deirdre Sims from the Epilepsy Awareness Foundation with us. Can we get Deirdre moved over?
I am attempting to move her over. I think she's joining you now.
Thank you. Deirdre, if you would care to unmute yourself.
Sorry, it took me a while there.
No worries. Technology is always challenging at the best of times. Is there anything you'd like to say prior to us acknowledging the proclamation?
Yeah, so thank you. So I'm Deirdre. I'm from the BC Epilepsy Society here in BC. We're a charitable organization that serves the over 50,000 people in this province who have epilepsy. So we are excited to let you know that International Epilepsy Day, a Purple Day for Epilepsy Awareness, is taking place on March 26th. And so that's why I've joined you today to ask that you, that Mayor and Council proclaim March 26th as International Purple Day for Epilepsy Awareness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from council? Seeing none, I'll proceed with the proclamation. The proclamation from the office of Mayor William Beamish in recognition of International Purple Day for Epilepsy Awareness. Whereas Purple Day is celebrated on March 26th annually during Epilepsy Awareness Month to increase the knowledge and understanding of epilepsy that will improve the quality of life for British Columbians living with epilepsy. And whereas Purple Day was founded in 2008 by Cassidy Megan, a 9-year-old girl from Nova Scotia who wanted people living with epilepsy that they were not alone. And whereas people in the community around the world are encouraged to wear purple and host events in support of epilepsy awareness on Purple Day. And whereas there are over 50,000 people in British Columbia, over 380 people in Canada, and over 65 million people worldwide living with this condition of epilepsy. And whereas the onset of epilepsy can occur at any age and state of life and does not discriminate against age, gender, race, ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status, geographic location, or sexual orientation. And whereas Purple Day is a health promotion effort that encourages people to raise awareness of epilepsy so that we can create a society that embraces the beauty of difference and understand how we can all come together to make the world a better place. Now, therefore, I, David Kroll, on behalf of Mayor William Beamish, Mayor of Gibsons, do hereby proclaim Saturday, March 26, 2022, as Purple Day in the town of Gibsons. Proclamation 2022-04. And what we'll do, Deirdre, is ensure that you get a copy of this proclamation. Does anyone else have any questions? Great. Thank you so much for the work you do. It's a huge challenge that people live with. I'll just share something very briefly. I had experience as a property manager. Often buildings do not allow pets, but I had a situation where a resident applied to us because she had a pet. It was a dog who sensed her. It gave her about 20 minutes warning of an imminent seizure.
Wow.
So we did grant her permission, and she became one of our best tenants. And you know, it's things like that that people need to be aware of in our community, and you know,
Yes.
embrace people with problems. So thank you so much for the work you do.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, take care.
You take care too. Okay, we're moving on now to item 6 or 6.1. It's a delegation from Sunshine Coast Tourism and the Visitors Information Center. And I will, we have a delegation before us.
Hello.
Wendy, good evening. Thank you for joining us. And are you on your own, or is Annie Wise joining us as well?
I'm here. I'm Annie, and I've got Wendy with me.
Super.
Great.
So
I'm just
turn the
going
floor over
to
to
share
you.
my screen. Let's see.
Looks like that's going to happen.
Great. Okay, we ready?
You're good to go.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you for having me today. My name is Annie Wise, and I am the Executive Director for Sunshine Coast Tourism. I began this role in August of last year after serving the previous 8 years for the organization as the marketing director. And as I join you tonight, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Shuswap Nation, and that Sunshine Coast tourism as a destination also includes the traditional and unceded territories of the Shuswap, Squamish, Cla'aman, Clahoose, and Homolthco First Nations. It's an honor to live here and to work here and to represent these lands. I'm also joined by my colleague, Wendy Wright. She is the Visitor Services Manager for for our organization, oversees the staff and operations at both the Sechelt and Gibsons Visitor Information Centers. So I've shared with you our request for annual funding in the amount of $7,200 for destination marketing services. This is a separate from our contract with you to manage Gibson's Visitor Information Center, but I thought it would be useful to provide a brief overview of our organization and what we've been up to for the last year. We are a nonprofit association, and our mission is to build a strong and sustainable tourism economy on the Sunshine Coast that's consistent with the values of our residents. And we work to achieve that mission through 3 primary pillars. That's destination marketing, destination development and management, and also working to increase the awareness of the value of tourism among our governments, residents, and businesses in our region. We are governed by a volunteer board of directors that are elected by our membership and represent different sectors of the tourism industry, including accommodations, recreation, arts, culture, and heritage. We also have a full-time staff team of 4, and plus our visitor services teams in Gibsons and Sechelt. In addition, we've also created 2 new tourism advisory committees, one for the southern half of the Sunshine Coast and one for the northern half, as an additional opportunity for our stakeholders and partners to be involved and communicate with each other. And the first meeting of that committee is actually next week, and I'd like to thank Councillor Lemley in advance for participating in that committee with us. As a nonprofit, we receive both public and private funding from 3 primary sources: our local governments, our stakeholders, and our visitors. And for over 10 years now, each of our local governments has provided a collective amount of approximately $80,000, with $40,000 coming from the North Coast, including the Cathet Regional District in the city of Powell River, and an additional $40,000 coming from the Southern Sunshine Coast. So that is with the SCRD, Town of Gibsons, and the District of Sechelt. And those shares within are based on a percentage of the population. And this core funding provides us the consistency and stability to base our operations on. And then we use that base as a springboard to then manage the municipal and regional district tax, also known as the 2% MRDT program for our region. And we then create programs and partnership opportunities for local tourism businesses. And so on top of these 3 pillars, we also then pursue other funding opportunities in the way of grants. And of course, we have the service contract with you to provide visitor services for the town of Gibsons. And one specific note that I wanted to make was that in late 2018, the province changed the MRDT legislation to include short-term rentals as collectors of the MRDT. Before that, it was only levied on large accommodations that had 4 or more units of housing, so typically larger hotel, motel properties. And another thing that they changed at that time was allowing that money, this new sort of pocket of money that was collected, to be used on both destination marketing, which was its traditional use, and also allowed for affordable housing initiatives. And so as a result of that, we created a sort of first of its kind in the province cross-government collaboration agreement to send a majority of those new short-term rental revenue funds collected through the MRDT back to our local governments to spend on approved plans for affordable workforce housing initiatives. And in 2021, we sent $86,000 back to the Sunshine Coast Regional District for their affordable housing plan. And that was after collection for all of 2019 and 2020. And then after the revenues we collected in 2021, we expect to send another approximately $80,000 to $90,000 back to the SCRD based or sometime this spring. So pretty significant contribution there, and we're thankful for the province for including that new piece of legislation. So then with our budget, we run 3 primary programs, one for destination marketing, a second for visitor services, and a third for destination management and development. So these are really the 3 streams that we're working on our day-to-day. And as it relates to our budget, here you can see each category as a percentage spend of our total budget. And as noted, the money for workforce housing is held aside for an annual disbursement. So we don't include that in our regular operating budget figures. So how are things going? This graph shows accommodation room revenues for the past 6 years. And as a note, this is only those traditional accommodation properties like hotels, motels, and resorts, and doesn't include short-term rentals unless they operate 4 or more units of accommodation. And you can see that despite no new major hotel developments in these several years, revenues have grown steadily pre-pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit in 2020, took a pretty solid dip there, but then our region recovered and overtook pre-pandemic levels by more than 20% in 2021 when compared to 2019, collectively capturing about $25 million in annual room revenues for the Sunshine Coast. And now with short-term rentals also collecting MRDT for the last couple of years, we have some new data to add to the mix, which is you can see there in green. And please note that there were, of course, short-term rentals collecting, making money and having room revenues prior to 2019. We just don't have that data because MRDT wasn't collected at the time, which is what these figures are based on. So you can see now that with both traditional accommodations and short-term rentals included, the room revenues are just shy of $40 million annually. And while these numbers do suggest impressive growth for our industry, we know that as Sunshine Coast Tourism, our work is only just beginning. It's more important than ever that Sunshine Coast Tourism continue to drive seasonal and geographic dispersion to our region to support a high quality visitor experience, and that we work to manage the destination for the benefit of both our residents and our visitors. So with that, I just wanted to give you a quick update on each of our programs. Our marketing is truly focused on winter and shoulder season efforts, encouraging visitors to responsibly explore when and where we need them. Our most recent campaign invites visitors under the slogan, "It's time to shine," reminding them that the Sunshine Coast brings out our inner well-being by connecting with nature, experiencing exceptional culinary and cultural experiences, and highlighting the benefits of traveling locally to a mostly lower mainland Vancouver-based audience. And for visitor services, we have an incredible team here in Gibsons that Wendy leads, and they're working hard to provide exceptional service to our guests. Our visitor information counselors provide service both impersonally and digitally through phone calls, email, social media, and even places like TripAdvisor forums. Our counselors are focused on encouraging visitors to stay longer and do more while they are here, which works not only to increase visitor satisfaction, but also strengthens the economic impact that each visitor makes when they come to the Sunshine Coast. And we look forward to what's shaping up to be a very busy summer with the expansion of our services with a new e-bike visitor kiosk, taking our service on the road. This kiosk was funded through the Community Access Fund grant program and will be a pilot project through Sunshine Coast Tourism, but within our service contract with the town of Gibsons to hopefully expand across the coast in the future. So if you see the bike this summer, be sure to stop by and say hi. And finally, our board and staff have recognized the need for many years now to focus specifically on destination development and management. This is truly about the supply side of the destination equation. Our marketing has always been about generating demand, and we think it's pretty clear that that's going well. The supply side essentially just means that we are now looking at the destination very holistically to ensure success both now and far into the future. We are pleased to receive grant funding through Island Coastal Economic Trust in this last year to fund a new position for destination development for our organization. We're able to hire actually our former executive director, which you may know, Paul Kamen, for this role. And to share a few highlights of what we have achieved through bringing this role into our organization, we secured over $500,000 in grant funding in this last year for tourism development, including new signage, trail improvements, and active transportation planning. I've also worked together with partners to secure an additional $300,000 and counting for other organizations, including the successful grant that we worked with you at the town of Gibsons, the SIRP grant, Community Economic Recovery Infrastructure Program. And that will go to the outdoor accessibility upgrades for the Gibsons Visitor Center. And we have many more grant opportunities identified, and we now have the capacity to make sure that the Sunshine Coast is getting its fair share of these provincial and federal grants. And to ensure effective consultation and transparency on this process, we created a Destination Management Council with a cross-section of residents, industry, government, and other organizations to share progress, perspectives, and gather input on our ongoing efforts as they relate to destination development. And one other important project that I wanted to share with you that you can see on this screen, last year we launched the Sustainable Sunshine Coast Initiative, and that works to both attract and educate respectful visitors who are aware of some of the coast-specific needs that we have as they relate to sustainability with some of the water issues and other needs, and also to support tourism businesses in reducing their impacts and building more sustainable operations. So I know I just crammed a lot into a very short period of time, but I wanted to say thank you to the town of Gibsons for your ongoing support. And thank you to my colleague Wendy for being here with me. And we are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Annie.
Thank you.
Great. I'll open it to council for questions or comment. Councillor Dendretti.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Really good. I appreciate that you mentioned active transportation, because today we were discussing budget and talking about the need to update our plan, which is now old. We have a plan, but the $500,000 was just for the Sunshine Coast, right? Including Powell River? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So last year we discussed when I think you launched the Save Water campaign last year, but it was also a year of lots of fire, or maybe 2 years ago. I believe it was last year. So I mentioned about if there's a need for a fire campaign, and I think it was Paul. He said, "Oh, that's a good idea." But I just wonder, how do you perceive that?
I mean, absolutely. Those types of messages are critical. The last thing we need is a fire, period. But we feel particularly responsible as Sunshine Coast Tourism to make sure that our visitors know what the current fire situation is, if there's bans in place. And we've taken active measures to make sure that, for example, on our social media accounts, we're not posting pictures of people having campfires. We're adding in, links for how to report wildfires if you see smoke, this type of thing. So we have a lot of this regular communication already baked into things like our social media channels and our website content. And then depending on the situation, we're definitely take an active role in communicating to our visitors and tourism businesses if there's, if there was an active fire on the coast, as there has been in the past. We've taken a leadership role there in making sure that we're communicating that. So absolutely, it's not just about water conservation. Wildlife interactions, that's another key piece where we want to make sure that people, especially if they're visiting from somewhere that maybe doesn't have bears and cougars, that they understand, what might await them in our forests and how to have, a positive experience. And so, we're definitely actively trying to make sure that our visitors are aware and educated to the varying issues in our region.
Okay. Can I just follow up? Thank you. So the Bear Alliance on the coast, I remember when because we did a whole work with them in bylaw and things like that. And one of the suggestions was that hotels or any accommodation, they have some sort of message inside the rooms, right? And I wonder if there has been a conversation with tourism, because I think if there's some poster, right, that people can read and even awareness with fire. So it's something that, it has a higher chance of success, obviously. So is there any conversation in this regard?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a regular newsletter that goes out to tourism businesses in the region, and we definitely like to share information like that they can post in their business. And so we've put together like toolkits for them to use, and we've done that often in partnership with organizations like Adventure Smart, Wild Safe BC. Last summer, we worked with the SCRD on their water conservation campaign. So depending on information that is already out there and how we can take that information and repackage it for tourism businesses so that it's easy for them to turn around and share that information within their own business.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Lumley.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. My question is more what you guys are giving back, which would be like $172,000 to affordable housing. Do we, and I know you said it went to the SCRD, like, I don't know who my question's actually directed to, but do we know where that money went or what it's being done with it? Does Gibsons get a portion of that for our affordable housing efforts, or?
Yeah, so my understanding, they had to create a plan, and I think their initial plan was to work with, and forgive me if I don't have the correct name of the association off the top of my head, but there's an affordable housing association for the coast. And so that initial infusion of money that they got last year, which was the $86,000 for the SCRD, that they were going to work with that association to essentially create like a housing needs assessment, and because $86,000 is a lot, but it's also not a lot if you're trying to build housing, and so yeah, they're due a report back on how that money was spent, that I have to turn around and give back to the province for our reporting requirements, and so they'll have it there. But that's definitely a discussion when we took it back to the SCRD that the different municipal reps were involved in and should be aware of, and so how that money can be shared within the district of Sechelt and the Sechelt Nation, as well as the town of Gibsons.
Yeah, the only reason why I ask is because your delegation's asking us for money for support, and like we have an affordable housing. I mean, Elyria, Ladwood 6 on it. I sat it on my first term, and we have like anyway. It kind of just it's it's not against, like, I mean, it's very generous for you guys to be donating back, but it's just like I don't know how many more reports we need. It's just like more committees and more reports. It just this. But anyway, it just kind of irks me sometimes that, like, because we have initiatives for the town that we have in place, and I'm not sure, like, another report that goes on a shelf somewhere is really what I might be saying is you're wasting the money that you're giving back. Unfortunately, I know I'm getting a little heavy here, but
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
If I can jump in there, the funding at the moment, if I get it correctly here, Councillor Lumley, it's to create a position for a coordinator to sort of uniformly establish policies across the municipalities and the regional district to work to support supportive housing.
Great. That's okay. Awesome.
And I think, and I'll just speak to, for us as Sunshine Coast Tourism, we are not affordable housing experts. No, and so that's why it made sense. Like, we didn't want to administer that program because that's not our expertise. And certainly the agreements that are in place of how the money flows and where don't have to stay that way forever. We're always open to that discussion in partnership with all our local governments. And I do understand the optics of going, hey, we just gave this money back, but also, can you give us $7,000? It's one of these things where as as an association, when we apply for the MRDT funding, it very clearly specifies in the legislation that it is not to replace existing sources of funding. And so that is why, year after year, we come back and ask for a small token to essentially make sure that each of our local governments has skin in the game, for lack of a better expression, and to make sure that that you have this voice as a partner of Sunshine Coast Tourism in your destination marketing organization to to have an equal seat at the table with all the other local governments that combine. And so we don't want to make that amount unreasonable or unattainable. We haven't asked for an increase in that amount of funding in, I think, over 10 years. And we don't intend to. Our primary, we have this secured revenue through the MRDT, but we also recognize that there's lots of issues at play. So I do understand the sort of optics of that and why it might seem maybe a bit strange, but that's why.
Yeah, and I get it. Believe me, I'm not trying to come down on you or anything. You're doing your job. Sounds like you're doing a great job, but it's just like I'm a stakeholder on different levels because I sit on council and my business participates in tourism. So, I mean, if I think if people are going to collect taxes and pay money out, it's I don't know. You just have to be concerned sometimes. I'm concerned sometimes of what happens, but I appreciate it. Thanks for your thoughts and everything.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions at this point? Great. Wendy, did you want to add anything just very briefly before we move on?
No, just thanks for having me. And I'm
Okay.
happy for Annie to present everything.
And I would just ask very quickly of both of you, we have the TV show Still Standing coming to Gibsons in April. I don't know if they've reached out to you. Your contact info was forwarded to them. So if they haven't, hopefully they will short imminently.
Yes, we have been in touch. So it's
Great.
very exciting news.
No. Super. Okay, well, thank you very much for your delegation. And, we are in budget process. So, everything will be taken into consideration. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you again. I appreciate it.
All righty. At this point, it brings us up to item 7 on our agenda, which is our first inquiries. I would remind people that these inquiries are with respect to only items on this evening's agenda. And in the interest of time, I will also mention that the inquiry period is limited to 10 minutes. And at this point, I would open for inquiries.
If anyone has an inquiry, please raise your hand and I will move you over so you can speak to council. I see no hands raised, Deputy Mayor Crow.
Alrighty, thank you so much. Alrighty, this brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the committee reports. Item 8.1.1, that the minutes of the special committee of the whole meeting held February 22nd, 2022 be received. They have been received in bulk, and I would just ask for a motion to accept these minutes. Councillor Ladwig, thank you. Councillor Dendretti, all in favor? Thank you very much. Brings us to 8.1.2. Turning it over to the Director of Finance for the 2022 preliminary general operating budget recommend. And the recommendation is that council authorize the continuation of the COVID community grant program for 2022 with a total grant amount of $20,000 to be funded from the COVID Safe Restart. Is there any further question or comment with respect to this recommendation? Seeing none, I would ask for a motion to accept it. Councillor Dendretti, thank you. Councillor Ladwig, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. We have the committee of the whole minutes from March 22nd. The recommendation that the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting held March 1st, 2022 be received, which we have done, and I would look for acceptance of that. Councillor Ladwig, thank you. Councillor Lumley, thank you. All in favor? Okay, 8.2.2, Director of Planning, Gibson's Housing Strategy Priorities Report. Did the Director of Planning want to address anything at this point?
No, thank you, Deputy Mayor. These are just the comments that came forward from committee. So if council wants to approve them, then we will go ahead and make those changes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Lumley,
I'll move it.
thank you. Can we have a second on that? Councillor Dendretti, and I'll call the question unless there's any. Councillor Ladwig.
I would just like to make a motion if possible, and further that our affordable housing strategy get rolled into our key priorities strategy document. That was one thing.
We had a motion on the floor and it was seconded, so we would need to make an amendment to that motion.
Sorry, I was.
So it's okay. So you would like to make an amendment to the motion?
Yes.
Okay, and that is?
That and further that our affordable housing strategy get rolled into the affordable housing strategy key priorities document. I don't want two separate documents for the town of Gibsons. I just find that very confusing.
Okay.
So our strategy outlines goals. We passed this, by the way, and I don't even know if you remember it. It was a small document. So I would like the goals of our affordable housing strategy to get rolled into the key priorities document, just so it's all in one place. I just feel like it's too confusing to have two separate.
No, agreed. Can we have someone second that motion? Okay, calling the question on the amendment. All in favor? Okay, now to the recommendation with the amendment that the recommendations that the town of Gibson's housing strategy be amended as followed, including the amendment brought forward by Councillor Ladwig. Colin, all in favor? Thank you. Already 8.3, Public Arts Advisory Committee. Now normally Mayor Beamish would address this. Do we have any reports or recommendations on this item? Seeing none, I would call the question that the recommendation that it's the minutes be received. So we have received them. I would ask for acceptance of these minutes. Councillor Ladwig, Councillor Dendretti, all in favor? Thank you very much. We're now 8.4, Special Committee of the Whole meeting March 8th. Recommendation that the minutes of the Special Committee of the Whole held March 8th be received, which we've done. I would look for acceptance of these minutes. Councillor Dendretti, thank you. Someone second. Thank you, Councillor Ladwig. All in favor? Okay. Update to the property tax implications of future policing costs once the town of Gibsons exceeds population of 5,000. We have a recommendation that the 5% annual policing reserve allocation be reduced to 2.5% for 2022, putting the balance back into surplus. So we've received this recommendation. I would look for a motion to accept it. Councillor Dendretti, thank you. Councillor Lumley, thank you. Calling the question, all in favor? Thank you. Our poor student on council is feeling very left out. All these
So
things.
many minutes.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for bearing with us. Item 8.4.3, council chamber audio visual upgrades. The recommendation that Soundworks be retained to complete phase 1 of the project in the amount of $30,000 to be paid from COVID-19 Safe Restart grant funding. And that funding be allocated in the 2022 budget up to $28,000 for the cost of phase 2 of the project to be paid out of COVID Safe Restart funding, and that further funding be allocated in the 22 budget up to $5,600 for the cost of phase 3 of the project to be paid from COVID-19 Safe Restart. And further, the council procedure bylaws number 1207 2015 be revised to enable the continuation of electronic or hybrid meetings for council and committees. So again, we've received this, and just for people watching, the regional district and the district of Seashelt have already gone to hybrid meetings. So it enables people to be in the council chamber, people to be at home, whether they're council members or community members, and to all be able to participate in meetings. So particularly in situations with health restrictions or weather restrictions, it at least enables engagement with the community, which is really important. So I would call the question with respect to this recommendation. Councillor Dendretti, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Lagwood, second. All in favor? Is there any further conversation on this? You're looking very perplexed there, Councillor Lumley.
I'm opposed, so.
Oh,
you can
yeah.
avoid that.
Okay, did you want that recorded? Okay, that's noted. Thank you, sir. 8.4.4, records and information management. Again, we've received this, that information management consulting, that FY, information management consulting be retained to complete stage 1 in the amount of up to $12,500 to be paid from COVID restart funding, and that the scanning services be provided at a cost of $30,000 to be paid from COVID-19 Safe Restart funding, and that funding in the amount be allocated in the 2022 budget up to $135,000 for the cost of stage 2 of the records information management project. And again, it's to be paid from COVID restart funding. So I'm looking for someone to, thank you, Councillor Dendretti, you have a question.
There's a, and further that the records management bylaw be drafted for council consideration.
Thank you for completing that for me. Looking for someone to move the recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Ladwig. Someone to second it. Thank you, Councillor Dendretti. All in favor? Thank you. And this is going to make it a lot easier for people getting information from the town hall, because right now a lot of stuff is hidden in boxes in the basement, which becomes very laborious to go hunting for. Administrative reports. We have a report from the Deputy Corporate Officer. The recommendation here is that the report titled Appointment to the Chief and Deputy Chief Election Officer be received, and further that pursuant to Section 58, subsection 1 and subsection 2 of the Local Government Act, Rebecca Anderson be appointed Chief Election Officer and Tracy Hinks be appointed as Deputy Election Officer for conducting the 2022 general local elections, and the power to appoint other election officials as required for this administration be conducted and conduct the 2022 general elections. That was a mouthful. Is there any, Councillor Dendretti? You're moving the motion? Thank you. Someone to second it, please. Councillor Ladwig, thank you. Calling the question. All in favor? Thank you. Congratulations, Rebecca and Tracy. Okay, at this point, we are going to jump to bylaws because the Director of Finance just wants to be out of here before the rest of us, which is only fair because we've been abusing staff lately, keeping them late into the wee hours. So I will turn it over to the Director of Finance, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So this is just the last step in the procedure to adopt the increase to the water and sewer user rates. And this is a follow-up from the long-term financial plans that were presented to Council in late January and discussed at subsequent budget meetings. The 3 readings were brought forward at the previous Council meeting, and this is the final step to get the rates in place for the effective April 1st billing cycle. Thank you.
Great. So calling the question with respect to this bylaw, I would, I'll read it just because we need to do that. So the recommendation is the Town of Gibson's Rate, Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw number 1196-2 2022 be adopted for first, second, and third reading. Looking for a motion. Councillor Dendretti, someone to second, please. Councillor Ladwig, thank you. Calling the question, all in favor? Thank you. Bylaw passes. That brings us back to our regular program here with council reports. And it's over to you, Councillor Ladwig.
I don't have a lot to say. What's on your agenda right now is our final display boards that we're hoping to take out to the community for consultation. The next steps for these boards is for the tenants on the Holland lands to take them back to their work boards to ensure that everyone's happy with what we're presenting. And then to have these display boards put up at Town Hall, the library, the museum, and holding an open house at the Gibsons Public Market. Hopefully, we got to confirm that date still. But these boards will be put up at all those locations with a survey. I was hoping to have the survey for you guys to review today in this agenda, but we just didn't quite get it on the agenda in time, but I believe it actually has come through your inbox just as we've been meeting. So there is a survey that'll go along with it. You guys will have it for your review. These are the final display boards, and I will be getting the open house date for you as soon as we get that date ironed out, but it's all coming. And the display boards will be up for community consultation or input for a month.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Ladwig. And I think, we can't emphasize enough that this is very much a work in progress for public participation. It's, people, sometimes they see display boards or see an artist rendering in context with a project and immediately assume that more has been decided than is the actual reality of the situation. So I do appreciate all the work that the committee's done in getting this far, and we look forward to the public input with respect to the project. Does council have any questions? Councillor Dendretti.
Thank you. Councilor Ledwig, can you expand a little bit on how people will learn about this project? I mean, right now you're saying this will be displayed at this location, but for, maybe I'm not going to be walking there. So how do people can learn about that?
If I remember correctly, I believe we're planning on putting it in the paper. It'll be on our Facebook. It's a good question for Elizabeth. All the usual channels that we get the information out there to get community input from. So yes, a newsletter posting will be going out. Facebook posting will be going out. A question for Mark is whether or not we have a page on our website. I'm not sure if we do or not.
There is.
Is there?
Yes, there is. The survey questions and the boards aren't there yet, but once they're finalized, they will be up there.
Right.
If I can just sort of jump the queue here, Councillor Dendretti. This is a project which I think is an incredibly exciting project. My home community back in Ontario, there was no public, other than the public market, which originally was a farmer's market, and it there was a market Wednesday and a market Saturday, and it was a great meeting hub. And then the market moved out of the community and there was no meeting hub. And now the city of Kitchener has a complex called Center in the Square. And it's an art gallery, it's a concert hall, it's a meeting hall, it's the library. And it's called Center in the Square. It's an amazing facility. And I would turn to our to Colton here, because this is a project that is going to be a long time in the works. And I think something that would be critically important at this point is youth participation, because you're going to inherit it. You know, I'll probably be long gone by the time, you know, this comes to complete fruition, but it's something that future generations for the community are going to inherit. And I think we need to look at it in that context. It's not just for me, it's not just for us now, it's for future generations. And I think that's really important moving forward. So again, Councillor Dandretti, you had something you wish to say?
Okay. Perhaps whether Council Ledwig or our CEO can comment, and how long. I just want the community to understand this is not going to be just a 2 weeks consultation, but how long this, you know, we will, the timeline that we will be able to hear from the community.
Yeah, so the display boards will be up for a full month. So as soon as we get them up, it'll be a 30-day period.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I think it's been covered, but also that there'll be a channel through, you know, through email and things like that for people to also comment. And, you know, it's going to be a huge job of collecting all this feedback and then, you know, disseminating it into some tangible information to work with.
And just in case you missed it, we are going to be holding an open house, hoping to get that secured at the Gibsons Public Market. We just don't have a date yet. So there will be an opportunity for people to come and meet with myself and Mark and what other staff will be there. But we're here to answer questions to make sure that the community understands the intent of the project and what we're trying to achieve.
Mhm.
Great. Thank you very much, Councillor Ladwig. Any further comment in this area? We have council correspondence next. This is correspondence from the week of February 28th and March 8th. Do we have anything that you would like to bring to attention? And while you're thinking about that, I mentioned it at Committee of the Whole, but I will mention it again this evening. The regional district is doing work on Reed Road. Initially, at this point, it's on from Grantham's Landing to North Road. It will be continuing from North Road to Payne Road. And I think it's going to be really important that we communicate to the community about this work that's going on. It is going to probably impact traffic-wise, traffic coming through Gibsons Way as opposed to taking Reed Road as an alternate to Gibsons Way. So I think the more information we can get out on this, the better for everyone. Does anyone else have any items from the correspondence? Councillor Dandretti.
Yeah, it's just a letter that I was referring early, actually. Mayor Beamish actually signed the letter, but there are other letters with the same topic, the Town of Oliver wildfire petition. So it's good because people are mobilizing and sending this request to the province, which help us support, right? The wildfire has been and it will continue to be a big issue.
Yeah, just further to that, I attended a Climate Caucus meeting last week, and the Mayor of Lytton and the Mayor of Penticton were the two guest speakers. And what they had to share with us with respect to Lytton, with less than 40 minutes to evacuate a community, they went for their emergency procedure manual. And of course, the town hall was gone. So was the manual and all the preparedness procedures. They completely lost contact with the citizens of their community because the service agencies who took over the relief work it became privacy information material, and the town couldn't even contact their own citizens. So there's huge lessons to be learned, and we really need to, and then Penticton with the flooding, it was a similar situation. So yeah, any other reference to Councillor Dendretti?
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to acknowledge there's a very nicely written letter from the Gibsons Waterfront Defense Association regarding the George. I'm aware that the George will come back anytime soon, but I think it's a letter that asks very good questions. So I just appreciate the participation of the public in this regard, and it's a good informative letter too. So that's
and we might just want to tag that letter for when the George does come back.
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no more attention to be drawn to the general files, 11.2, we have a letter from Amanda Amaral, Chair of the Board of Education with the school district, a recommendation that the letter dated February 25th from Amanda Amaral, Chair of the Board of Education, School District 46, regarding the Be Amazing campaign be received. Is there any conversation required around this letter? And
Did we not receive all these at the beginning of
we
the meeting?
received them. I'm just looking for acceptance of it at this point, Councillor Lumley.
Okay.
Did you wish to move it?
I thought we did move them all at the beginning of the meeting, so,
We received them all.
okay.
Thank you, Councillor Dendretti. Second?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I just want to make a comment because this was an issue that Kathy, sorry, I forgot her last name. She came to as a delegation to talk about the issue of human trafficking. And I'm really happy that the school district 46 really took this because that's exactly what the role is, right? Taking this to the next level and investing in education, because really education is the best form of prevention. One of the very potent, right? Not the only one. So I'm really pleased to see that, because this has been a concern, very strong concern for me. So I'm happy to see this letter.
And youth are most vulnerable in this area. So I move to accept this letter. Thank you. All in favor? Okay, next we have a letter from Mike Alsop, President of the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing. They are looking for a recommendation that the Sunshine Coast Affordable Housing Society, regarding what they would like to do is join the Intergovernmental Liaison Group. So we have a letter before us. I would look for a motion that council write a letter to support this request. Councillor Ludwig, is that a motion or a comment? Okay, second. Thank you. Calling the question, all in favor? You wanted to say something, Councillor?
I might have messed up your order again, sorry, in process. I just wanted to give folks a little bit of background. So this is a subcommittee that the Affordable Housing Society has, and it is a subcommittee out of respect for the elected officials on the Sunshine Coast and recognition that we're all very busy. We're trying to make time as efficient for us as possible. And they're trying to use this efficient subcommittee as a way to kind of attract representatives from all of the governments across the coast. And so it's sort of just a given that this will be me, just so you guys know. We're not looking for additional volunteers. It'll just, I will move from participating on the board itself to this subcommittee where we can have more in-depth conversations about how the governments on the Sunshine Coast can support the Affordable Housing Society. Maureen.
Thank you. So looking to move the request. Councillor Ludwig, Councillor Dendretti, all in favor? Thank you. 11.4, the mayor's letter re watershed security strategic and fund. Recommendation being that the letter dated March 10th, 2022, from the town of Gibsons to the Ministry of the Environment regarding the watershed security and funds be received. And looking for a motion to accept this letter. Thank you, Councillor Dendretti, Councillor Ladwig. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. We have another piece of correspondence from Richard Beal, Sunshine Coast Alternate School Outdoor Community Fitness Circuit. And the recommendations that this letter be received and that a letter be provided in support of the Sunshine Coast Alternate School fundraising efforts to pay for an outdoor fitness circuit. Motion to Councillor Ladwig, you wish to say something?
I couldn't open that document for some reason. Did no one else have that problem? No.
I couldn't open
It was just a letter in the agenda. The document for opening, I believe, was in the previous item, was the mayor's letter.
I couldn't open this one either.
Oh,
Are they asking for funding or what?
they're just looking for a letter. Rebecca, did you wish to say something there?
I did. No, I know, I don't have anything to say. I thought I did, but I don't.
Okay, so they're just looking for a letter to be provided to support the Sunshine Coast Alternate Schools fundraising efforts to pay for an outdoor fitness circuit. So, Councillor Lumley, you moving that? Thank you. Second, thank you. All in favor? Just like that. Thank you. And look at that, we're item at 12.1, which we've already passed. Any unfinished business that we need to deal with? Okay, item 15, we have deferred to the next meeting. Councillor Dendretti.
I wonder, I mean, for the sake of time, that's why I did it, but I wonder if it would be better if we reinstate.
Too late.
I'm sorry, too late, all right.
Too late.
It's been moved off the table, so.
Okay, no problem.
And we do have a very lengthy in-camera meeting ahead of
No,
us.
okay, fair
So
enough.
I would, so if there is no new business, I would look for, which would bring us to our second inquiry period. And I would ask the corporate officer to ask anyone who has a question at this point to come forward, keeping in mind that we try and limit this period to 10 minutes. Now, I notice Harriet Hunter has had her hand up for the last segment of this meeting, so.
She should be joining you now.
I see Harriet has joined us. Good evening.
Harriet, you need
Can you
to
oh, there you go. You're unmuted now, Harriet.
Thank you. I've been having a bit of a problem. My question is concerning the George project. Will there be a process for review of the DPA 5 form and character permit? And given that the permit is so old and much has changed, will council ensure there is a proper public consultation process concerning the new proposal? Thank you.
I think in a one-word answer, it would be yes. There's my understanding, and I'm very high level, that the entire project has been sort of redesigned, re-engineered. So I think it's going to be, taking on a new incarnation coming forth. And, I think we're all blatantly aware in this community that dialogue with the community is critical. So I can only assure you that, the community will be involved in this project as much as we are.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Did anyone else? Councillor Lumley has been faced with this project longer than any of us. I don't know if you want to add anything here, Councillor Lumley.
No, I mean, I would suggest that in like not just focus on the George, but if the concern is the waterfront, focus on the entire waterfront. Those other two lots beside the George have been purchased, and there'll be development plans going in there. So I think a strategy to protect the waterfront, the aquifer and everything maybe it shouldn't go project by project. Maybe it should say, hey, and I think that's primarily what Councillor Diandretti wants the review of those DPAs for, is to update and I mean, it's almost like what Councillor Ladwig said and Councillor Luria wants earlier today. It was just like, sometimes like you just need a plan kind of simplified and laid out so that anybody can understand it. So instead of just saying, well, here it is, and you go, well, I don't get it. I think it's our best efforts to say, how can we make it so that everybody gets it, like that it's, it's comprehensive and it's true. There's nothing hidden, and it's the best thing for the town. So I think that's the way it should go. I know there was a lot of, obviously, I lived through the George. I know there was a lot of resentment and on both sides, but maybe this is an opportunity to regroup and break down those barriers or those walls, or maybe heal a little scar tissue and get together and just like I said, protect the entire waterfront and not just kind of focus on like the George has. Maybe should change the name. I don't know. It has like just a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but it shouldn't be focused on the name. It's got to be focused on what's best for the waterfront and the town and the people of the town. And those are my thoughts.
Can I respond?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. We're the Gibsons Waterfront Defense Association, and we're not just focused on the George. We will definitely keep in our purview everything that happens around the waterfront. But thank you for this openness. This is definitely a new day in this problem of the waterfront.
And I appreciate it, Harriet, but and I wasn't just talking about you guys. I was really kind of talking about everybody, including the town. Because like I said, I kind of went through all that, and it wasn't nice for anybody. I don't think anybody can look back and say it was a good experience. So I think, I appreciate everything you guys are trying to do, and I think everyone can work together on this one and make it right. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for your insight, Councillor Lumley. Did you have anything else, Harriet?
No, thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you so much. Does anyone else have an inquiry at this point?
Anyone else has an inquiry, please raise your hand. I see no further hands raised, Deputy Mayor Kroll.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, then, I would move to item 17 on the agenda, which is a motion to close, and the recommendations that the meeting be closed in accordance with sections 90 subsection 1, subsection C, exempt staff relations from the community charter, and section C, labor relations or other employee relations. I would look for someone to move that motion. Councillor Ladwig, thank you. Someone to second, please. Councillor Dandretti calling the question. All in favor? Thank you. Colton, at this point, I'm going to bid you good night. I would like to thank everyone for joining us. We will be coming back. For those patient people who want to wait in the wings, you're more than welcome to do